And in the studio now is David Warschawski, CEO of Warschawski, a full-service ad agency, voted best small agency a couple of times recently, right?
7 of the last 11 years.
Big stuff. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
So,
nice to be here. And by the way, happy to talk about two of my favorite things, sports and marketing communications.
Well, we didn't really have a rooting interest in the football game last night, so I think a lot of people were watching it as much for the commercials as anything else. We found out today it was the highest rated program in the history of television. Again, these spots go for $3.5 million. It's still a lot of money. Why is it such a big thing for marketers?
Well, there's a discussion to be had there. Some would say that it's not a great spend for some brands, and some aren't using the money wisely to their best effect. And I think that's what we're going to talk about, who did a great job and who didn't. But if you've got a chance to talk to so many people at one time and create a perception in the mind of so many consumers, and you do it well, it certainly can be worth $3.5 million. But if you do it and you spend $3.5 and you do it poorly, well, you have something to answer for then.
Is there anything like it? I mean, we have this fragmented media space where we have so many channels, a lot of people online, and they're seeing ads, but they're seeing sort of customized ads. Is this the only time of the year you can really reach almost everybody at once?
It really is one of the biggest opportunities. The World Cup or the Olympics might be on par to some extent, but short of that, Super Bowl is the Super Bowl.
All right, so we have a few commercials we want to look at, and I'll remind our viewers that if you have a Super Bowl ad you want to critique or have a question about, you can give us a call. We'll keep the number up on the screen. Let's start, and we can roll this, and we'll talk about what we're seeing here. This is a commercial. Doesn't look like it at this point, but this is a commercial for Chevrolet. Let's see how it plays out.
Where's Dave?
Dave didn't drive the longest-lasting, most dependable truck on the road. Dave drove a Ford.
Twinkie? Yeah.
Chevy Silverado. From the beginning of your workday to the end of the world, Chevy runs deep.
All right, this is interesting on a lot of levels. First off, that direct shot at Ford.
Correct. So first, let's talk about one of the things we want to clarify for your viewers is often when we talk about Super Bowl ads, we use the lens of was this enjoyable to watch? Was it good entertainment? But as a marketing communications firm, we take a more specific lens, and that's the lens of was it a great advertisement? And what does a great advertisement want to do? Number one, it wants to move the target audience to action, and or it wants to change a perception or create a new perception where there wasn't one with the target audience. And to that end, we've created our own proprietary approach. We call it the BEST model. And that's an acronym for B, for it has to be brand-centric, it has to build the brand. E, it's got to make an emotional connection with the target audience. S, it needs to stand out and be memorable. And T, is it talking specifically to a target audience and achieving a goal? And that's why for us, the Chevy Silverado ad is a real winner this year around. It did all of those elements great. Chevy Silverado is a tough truck for tough guys. When the end of the world comes around, you're still driving it. So it makes that brand-centric connection, emotional connection with the target audience. It's there and it's clear. Does it stand out and is it memorable? 100%. And then does it have a clear target audience? Yes, that hardworking blue-collar guy who you know is going to be reliable and dependable. And does it have a business objective? That's the shot you saw at Ford is, we're taking you on, Ford. If you want a tough, rugged, dependable, reliable truck, Ford isn't right for you, the Chevy Silverado is right for you.
All right, let's go to the other extreme, an ad that you didn't like. This also comes from a deep-pocketed advertiser. This is Bud Light.
Man has long dreamed of turning lead into gold. We dreamed of turning gold into platinum. Triple filtered, smooth finish, top shelf taste. Introducing Bud Light Platinum.
My reaction to that is just to yawn.
Right, it's just a stinker all the way around. So let's look at it through the best model. Number one, is there anything brand-centric about it? Bud Light is party in a bottle. Here we go. You have a party for 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds. Does that come across in this? No. Is there emotional connection? No. You said it's a yawner. Is there anything that stands out? Zip. And is there a target audience we're talking to? No. And is there any business objective? I don't know what Bud Light Platinum means. Does it mean now they're Platinum Flex in my Bud Light like a Goldschlager? What does it actually mean? So this is really on the other end of the extreme from Chevy Silverado. And one of the things that was interesting this year around is the interplay by an advertiser like Budweiser and Bud Light. Bud Light had one of our favorite ads in the Bud Light Here We Go, which ran after this ad.
Was that the dog?
Yes,
Okay.
with the dog we
Rescue
go.
dog.
Exactly.
Right.
Great brand-centric commercial, right on point for Bud Light, but follows this, which creates cognitive dissonance for the target audience for Bud Light and asks the consumer to say, which one do I want? Do I want the Bud Light Platinum, or do I want the Bud Light that I know and love, the Here We Go, the party in a bottle waiting to happen?
Is it possible, and I'm sure all these things are tested to death, I mean, is it possible that they're going for two different audiences, two different markets here? Talk about Geico commercials. And obviously, big budget, deep-pocketed advertiser. They've been pounding on that 15-minute message for a long time. There's the gecko. The one I don't get is the caveman. And somebody explained to me once that they're not talking to you with that particular set of commercials, but they're doing a lot of different things at the same time.
So that's a really great question. It's the question of the target audience, because all advertisement, and for that question, anything that's marketing communications is always subjective to who the recipient is, who's the target audience. So if you're trying to move to action the 30-year-old male, it's not going to be the same message as it is going to be for his mother, the 60-year-old female. You have to have a different message, a different emotional connection that needs to happen. So in the Bud Light's case, they did a really bad job of bridging that gap, of showing them how is this the same brand, and how can I speak to two different elements of the target audience? Now, a brand that did a great job of that in the Super Bowl ads was the Kia Optima ad. Did something very unusual, which is speak to two sides. Both sexes were discussed, both the fantasy and the dream for the female and the male, and how do you do that organically without losing the joy and the surprise and the interest of a great advertisement.
I think I was getting dessert at that point. Which ad was that?
It was the one where the male and the female were asleep, the couple, and someone came in and sprinkled pixie dust on them, and they had a dream sequence.
I missed that entirely. They should get their $3.5 million back.
That's what YouTube's for.
There you go. Let's talk to Maggie in Baltimore City. Maggie, thanks for the phone call. Go ahead.
Oh, you're so welcome, Jeff. I wonder if your chap can chat about the Audi auto ad during Super Bowl.
You remember the Audi spot?
Sure, the vampire spot you're talking about?
Oh, God,
Yes.
You liked it or no?
I don't know. I thought it was rather crazy. It drove us pretty nutsy because of its unusualness, if that's a word.
All right. Thanks so much for the call.
It was one of the stranger commercials. We did not see that as being a particularly strong commercial. First of all, it focused directly on one specific product benefit, which was the headlights of the Audi. Here's your big stage. You talked about spending $3.5 million, and what do you want to showcase? The fact that it's got lifelike daytime lights. Is that what you want to focus on? So from that standpoint, it wasn't a real hit. But on a larger stage, Audi is trying to take the mantle from Mercedes, from BMW, that we are the next generation of luxury cars. We are the great luxury mobile for the 30-year-old. And here was their opportunity to say that, and focusing in on one product benefit of a car and doing it strangely with vampires. There was no emotional connection there. The target audience wasn't clear. In fact, it seemed to skew a little bit younger than Audi might normally do.
Here's Susan in Baltimore City. Susan, thanks for the call. Go ahead. Susan, are you there?
Yes.
All right. Come talk into the telephone.
I'm sorry. My question was, what about the first ad that was on with Elton John, the Pepsi ad, that was rather spectacular? I thought it was, I obviously just said my opinion. I thought it was spectacular.
Okay. Thanks for the call.
It was an interesting ad. It was strange. Pepsi's the choice of a new generation, wants to juxtapose itself with Coke, which, by the way, we thought Coke was a real loser in the Super Bowl ads this year around. Was it a horrible ad by Pepsi? No. Was it a great ad by Pepsi? No. Mixed messages about being the choice of the new generation, with the X Factor winner sort of relegating Elton John to the basement with Flavor Flav. So some element of it is the choice of a new generation and taking the icons of the past and putting them in the cellar. But for us, it didn't work 100%. On the best model, we didn't see brand centricity. We did not necessarily see a really strong emotional connection. Standout, yeah, it was unique and different. Clarity of target audience and an objective to be achieved, a little bit in between there.
Let's talk to Barbara in Queen Anne's County. Barbara, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm calling about the Dorito commercial.
Okay.
Did the Great Dane, was he burying the cat, the missing cat?
Mystery.
We're not sure, but a really interesting phenomenon, one of the trends that's been growing over the past couple of years, that was a consumer-generated advertisement. That means that Doritos had a contest where more than 6,000 individuals participated, sent in ads to be judged who was the best. Doritos ran 2 solid, really well-done consumer-generated commercials. I would say that this commercial was interesting. We're unclear whether the dog was burying the cat or just paying off its owner not to talk about what happened to the cat. But that trend of consumer-generated advertisements that allows it to make a deeper emotional connection with its target audience.
You like that?
Interesting, smart trend. The ads were good, were solid. We'd call them B+, A-. Wouldn't call them the home runs, but a real good shot there.
Let's get another call in. This is Josh in Baltimore County. Josh, you're on. Go ahead.
Hey, I saw that Clint Eastwood ad, the one for GM, I think, or Detroit. I had 2 questions. Did he pay for that himself? And if not, who would waste all that money on such a long-winded, boring commercial?
Fabulous call, Josh. Thank you very much. So it was Chrysler, which brings up the whole topic of you can have these great ads and nobody can remember who the sponsor was.
Right. So it was an interesting ad. There were some elements that were brand-centric that did try to create an emotional connection. But overall, as your caller pointed out, it sort of missed the mark. We weren't clear who it was for, what was it trying to accomplish, what was the target audience, and what was the goal of it, which therefore makes it not a great ad. It had some good elements, but your question again, $3.5 million for this. If you're unsure who did it,
that was
and what's
probably,
the goal of it?
I think that was a 60 at least, so 7.
Probably talking about $7 million for that one.
What do you make of the phenomenon? You talked about the ads that are sourced off of a viewer submission. The Matthew Broderick Ferris Bueller ad, right, I think, would have blown people away if it came out of the blue. Yeah. But it had been leaked in stages online, and I'm sure they got a ton of publicity. What do you think of that strategy?
Right. So that's a trend that we've been seeing growing over the last couple of years. The notion of pre-releasing. It happened with the Honda CR-V ad. It happened with Jerry Seinfeld and the Lexus ad. It's great for creating buzz and attention and making back some of the 3.5, hopefully an exposure pre and post. And by the way, that's also happening with social media integration to extend the life of the commercial afterwards. I think what you said is very true. Sometimes it works, but sometimes, first of all, both of those commercials were about an 8 on our best model. They were good. They were Bs or B minuses. So they didn't help themselves or hurt themselves. It gave them some additional attention and lifespan. But I do think they both sort of lost some of the wow factor by people having seen them and discussed them before the Super Bowl.
I'm going to squeeze in a really quick call. No, I'm not going to squeeze in a really quick call. All right, well, I just have half a minute left. Small budget clients, people who don't have $3.5 million, where do you start?
Yeah, not at the Super Bowl. So today's world, there's so many things you can do to be targeted, to be specific, to reach out to your target audience. Great ways to spend smaller budgets is to talk about social media, is to talk about third-party credibility through media relations, finding things that allow you to integrate a marketing tactic that lead to PR opportunities, which gives you that third-party credibility that you can then use through social media. Generally speaking, you don't have to spend $3.5 million to make a really strong impact with that target audience.
This was a lot of fun. David Warschawski, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate the time, appreciate the expertise. Join us Thursday on MPT for Your Money and Business, and then we're back Friday with State Circle and the latest on Maryland politics. For all of us at MPT, thanks for watching and have a good night.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.